When I pondered the question, my proudest moment in ministry, I had to think of 9/11, that horrible, horrible time in the history of our country and the planet. Great loss of life, horrible. And as soon as we could get everybody together for an evening time to address that. And I am not generally note bound when I speak, but I wrote out what I wanted to say. I wanted to say it exactly the way I wanted to say it. And it was a plea to not hate. Not hate the people who had done horrible things and killed people and destroyed property, but to love. That hate builds more hate, and retaliation builds more retaliation. That what we need is love, most of all right now. And we pray for those who lost their lives and those who are injured. And we pray for those who caused the loss of life and caused the injury. And know that we are all God's children, and we gain nothing by killing, by hating. I found in that time that I really believed that love will overcome hate. Some people left the church after that. They weren't ready to love. They wanted to hate. They wanted to kill. They wanted to retaliate. And others said they felt that was the best talk that I ever gave. And out of that pain and that sorrow and that suffering, to speak in favor of love when maybe it wasn't a popular thing in some places. That's what I'm most proud of.
I believe one of the greatest gifts I've ever received in all my life is this particular center here in Atlanta and the diversity of that center. There is everything imaginable under the sun. We are 50-50 African American, white, old, young, transgendered, gay, straight, families. It's just the most amazing, inclusive group. And when things in the world happen, like the Charleston shootings or the shootings in Orlando, it gives me pause, and I realize that the most effective thing in some of those situations is not me talking. That the most effective thing is to allow the membership, the people who come here, to have the experience that they need to have and to find some catharsis and to find some voice or some safe space to grieve. And what I hold dear in my heart as memory is the way in which this community expressed that grief and that bonding and that healing and that sacred space. It permeates the walls of this building, and it's in the carpet, and it's just such a magnificent thing for me to just step away from the microphone and to allow anybody that needs to come and to grieve openly to have that container to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And with Orlando recently, we didn't do a service. We created an urn, and everyone had a flower, and we just would read the names of all of those who had been killed, and they would come, and between all of the services, this beautiful arrangement happened, and it was something tangible for people to participate in. It was an activity. And I reflect on, I'm thankful that I listened to my intuition that says, don't try to manufacture something, let this be the people's opportunity to feel.
For me, I guess two of the most meaningful experiences came out of me being called as a minister to the hospital. The first time, and I was a young minister at the time, a mother called me because she had gotten word the doctor wanted to disconnect her son, her only son, from life support. And I'm a mother, so I know that's a difficult thing to do, but to go and to support her And she had a sister and a mother who were trying to tell her, just go ahead and pull the plug, because they were kind of like, I'm over this already. And the young man's father was coming from somewhere out of the state and driving down. And she said, I can't do it. And I said, I understand. You don't have to do it. And she wanted to wait until the father got here. So I sat and talked with her. And then I went and talked to the family to explain to them her position and try to get them to give her some understanding and compassion and love in that direction. So we went through that scenario, and I sat there in the hospital with them, and I went into the room and I prayed with the young man, and I came out, and in the middle of the night, he made his transition without her having to pull the plug. I knew she could not give that directive. And he made his transition without, having to pull the plug. And that helped that mother, and I was able to support her through that. And then I did the same thing with another mother whose daughter was her only child, making her transition with 2 young children left behind. And I was there at the hospital, called the attorney, doing all of this work with them to help her make that transition smoothly. And so for me, I think at Hillside, one of the biggest things that really works is when we have healing services, for creating that space for those that are needing to heal, whether it's physically, emotionally, financially, or whatever, to come together and to be in prayer with people and support them and know that they can make it. And I got that revelation as a student in Barbara King School of Ministry, when we had a gentleman who was a quadriplegic, who was a millionaire, but he started out in his 20s with some type of disease that they said he would not make it to 30. He read Maxwell Maltz' book, Psycho-Cybernetics, made it a part of his consciousness, and was determined that whatever time he had left, he would not stay in the state hospital, he would not be a burden to his parents, used his mind to create a business and to live approximately 30 years beyond the time that they said he would live, and became a millionaire. And he could not move a muscle. The only thing that he could use was his mind. And that just planted something in my consciousness that I can't get past. I know what the mind can do. And so therefore I can stand in that, and I can help someone when they can't see it. I can see it for them, because I know that that can be done.
Life is built upon moments, and every one of the moments that you have just shared has ministered to me, because it gives me hope. I haven't been in ministry maybe as long as the rest of you, but I find myself wanting a little bit, looking for the moment, the climactic moment, and every one is profound. The subtle ones, the ones in the back room that nobody sees or hears, the ones in the hospital, the ones when you find yourself wanting to answer, how can humanity do this to humanity? How can buildings come down? And I think rather than find a moment, my heart is saying it is a willingness to be in whatever moment is up, is the profound movement of spirit that I am so grateful for. It is the understanding to answer the call of humanity when it is screaming for more dialogue and less monologue. And so I agree with you. Close my mouth and be present as a witness to whatever needs to be felt, whatever needs to be expressed, and to be who we need to be, and to know that it's going to look like pain, it's going to look like darkness and tears and anger and wanting to rail at the world. But when we allow ourselves to feel those things, we can return to that place of just being present to each other. And so we've had wonderful services at Unity North, wonderful answers, external demonstrations to bring some degree of peace and solace in the midst of our pain. But it's really when we stop talking that the greatest healing balm occurred, when the greatest awareness was realized, the new thought came, transcending our intellect, transcending whatever skills I've learned in ministry or in school or in my life experience. It was those moments that I believe where I became more of who I am as a human being, and as a spiritual being, where my community became more a center that really was answering the calls of humanity. And I believe in New Thought and the world as whole, humanity was given a small window to rise to a greater awareness, where new truth could be realized that maybe nobody'd ever thought of. No book contains, no classroom ever taught. It is the classroom of just being. And so I don't have a moment, but just knowing life is that moment. The community that we've created here today, we go now and create that same community elsewhere, just being present to the stories, to understanding each other at a little bit deeper place. To me, that is the most profound gift. It is the most blessed gift that I've ever been given. And so I thank the three of you for that gift. And anybody who's listening, I encourage you to take that gift and visit all these centers and allow yourself to be in that kind of energy.